Mementos received a significant hit on the last forbidden slash limited list, with Lacrimosa going to 0 and also Beatrice going to 0 as well. And a lot of people are wondering if you should still play the Fiendsmith package. Now, you have to really evaluate why people were starting to play something like the Fiendsmith. And one of them was that it's just another starter, which is really good. And there's also an extender because it can get you to your combos with something like Aerial Eater. I still think that is possible. It is just that it's not a complete starter anymore. You need another card to pair with this card in order for it to be a combo. So it's not as free as it was before, but it's still a way to play around interruptions, which is pretty good. And especially if you have stuff like any of these starters, it's going to be even better because the Fiendsmith Engraver pairs better with the Memento cards than if you have to like normal summon an Ash while doing the Fiendsmith combo. Now, if you're wondering what the combo is, I'm going to showcase it here. So let's just go through this really quickly. Now, before you used to be able to activate the Engraver and just do the entire Memento combo. That's not possible anymore. So you now have to either do your feats cards or combos and then like normal summon a card, or if you have a starter, you start with your starter, and if it gets interrupted, you go into your Fiendsmith stuff and then you combo with something like Aerial Eater because you have one more body, so you don't have to waste the Engraver effect in graveyard to put back material, so that now you have two level 6 monsters with the same attribute, which is the requirements for something like Aerial Eater in the graveyard to specimen itself. So I'll showcase it here. So let's start. So let's say I activate Momentalin Angewitch and it gets negated by something like Imperm Veiler. Now you're going to use the effect of Engraver. Engraver is going to add track, and then you're going to go into track into Lurie, and now Lurie is going to use this effect to summon itself. And now this is just basic Fiendsmith stuff. Now you're going to go into Requiem effect. You're going to summon out Engraver, and now here you can link into the sequence, and now you're going to use the effect of Sequence, put back both of the light fiends that are not level 6 because you need the level 6 for the Aerial Eater. And now you're going to summon out the Aerial Eater, and now Aerial Eater on summon is going to send the Momentalin Goblin. So now, without the extra extender, again, you're going to have to use the Engraver. But before, you didn't have to do that. And you didn't have to link into the Sequence first. You can go, once you have these two monsters on the field, you could use the effect of track, and then track fuse the Engraver and the other Engraver that you summon off of the effect of itself, and you go into Lacrima. And then now you have an extra level 6 in rotation, and now it's fine. But in this instance, now you need an extra body to link into Sequence, so now you can leave the Engraver engrave to use it as a banished material for something like Aerial Eater. So now you're going to see it's just the standard basic combo. You're going to go into Cross Sheet, and now you're going to banish both the Engravers to summon back the Aerial Eater, and then it's going to trigger the Cross Sheet. Now what you're noticing is that now you won't have the follow-up of Engravers in your graveyard, so the engine on the follow-up turn is a lot worse, but it's still fine, I believe. So that is why I'm playing something like 2-track, because if I do draw the third Engraver, or if I draw multiple Engravers, I have them for the follow-up turn, especially if it gets stopped. So now I'm just going to show off the standard line you would do here, is that you would go into Goblin, you use the effect, and that will send the Bone Party and the Gaddock. And now you're going to use the effect of Gaddock. Gaddock is going to summon itself and then add back the Bone Party that you sent off of the effect of Goblin. And now you're going to use the effect of Bone Party into Darkblade. Now, if you started with Darkblade, then you can go Angewitch, and then Angewitch effect will get to Sleepy, and that will also get you to a future monster, which is like Twin Dragon. So it just depends on what starter you start with. It doesn't really matter. It's still going to be some type of combo. But yeah, this is probably the better combo here because you can go into Dark Blade, and then Dark Blade can go into the Mace, and then Mace is going to give you access to the Momental Infusion. So now we're going to use the effect of Momental Infusion. We're going to fuse back the Mace, the Gaddock, and the Goblin, and that is going to go into the Creation King. And now Creation King is going to send itself from the extra deck. It's going to send the Combined Creation, and it's also going to send the Sleepy. And now you're going to use the effect of the Creation King in the graveyard to get to the field spell. And now you're going to activate the field spell. And now usually you would use the effect of Momental Infusion in the graveyard to pop the Creation King. Here you're going to pop the Aerial Eater, and that is going to allow you to have an extra Momentum name on the field. So now that when you summon back this Sleepy, you have 2 Memento monsters to fuse into the Twin Dragon. If you're noting here, it says that if a monsters you control, so it's not a Memento card, so just bear that in mind. Now you're going to use the effect of the field spell, and that's going to summon out the Sleepy. So now you can use the effect of Sleepy on summon. It's going to use this effect to fuse into a Momental fusion monster, and now you're going to go into the Twin Dragon, and now you're going to use the effect of Twin Dragon to add Mace to your hand, and also add the Horn Dragon to your hand. And now you're going to use the effect of Twin Dragon to bring back pretty much any monster. It doesn't really matter. And now you're going to special summon out the Horn Dragon, and now you're going to link off an SP, and now you're going to use the effect of the Combined Creation to summon itself onto the board. And now this is pretty much your end board. And I would note here that you don't have that many names in the graveyard, but because you have something like Bone Party goes into Angel Witch, and then Angel Witch gets a Sleepy, which then you can go into Twin Dragon, and then Twin Dragon adds a bunch of cards, and then you can go Momental Infusion, go into the Creation King. You can also go into Guardian Chimera. As you see, I am playing the Guardian Chimera. I think it's a lot better now because your board is a lot weaker with the hits to Lacrima and Beatrice. So getting access to something like Guardian Chimera is probably better to make your board a lot stronger, especially if you're not playing the 2 trap cards. I feel like it's really not that great, especially because your deck is a little bit less consistent with the Fiendsmith not being like complete starters. So I just decided to cut that period. I even cut it before we got the hit through to Lacrima and Beatrice. So just keep that in mind. So now I'm going to go to the end phase, and now I'm going to set the Bone Party. So as I said, you have the Bone Party, you have the Momental Infusion. You also have Cross Sheep that can summon back a monster from graveyard. So you can keep that in mind as well. SP is an interruption as well. Combined Creation will obviously summon back the only target you have in graveyard. You could also summon back the Mace, but you're probably not going to do that. But for the most part, you're going to be summoning out the Horn Dragon, and then using the effect of Bone Party to destroy the Horn Dragon, and then summon the Angel Witch, and then you get a bunch of triggers, right? So the deck is still pretty good, and I feel like the Fiendsmith version is still the preferred version because it just gives you more ways to push through boards. Because without the Fiendsmith cards, you only have maybe 6 ways, if any, like to play through your opponent's interruptions. So there's also other ways you could play through it, but it requires you to draw like a specific hand. So if you have Foolish Burial Goods, you can use the effect of Foolish Burial Goods to send Fusion, and now you can use the effect of Fusion to banish and pop any of the cards that got hit with Imperm to search something like Bone Party or another Fusion, and you can combo from there. So if you don't want to play the Fiendsmith cards, or you don't have the money for the Fiendsmith cards, and you were looking for a replacement to beat something like Imperm or Valor or even Ash on the Dark Blade or the Angel Witch, I think Foolish Burial Goods is probably a decent alternative. But I would rather prefer if you could play the Fiendsmith cards because they're just better, because they have more utility, because they can also go into something like Caesar. They can go to SP, they can be used going second, going to like something like Azalea to get rid of cards. So I just think they have a lot more utility. They're also like follow-up, because if you have a great engraver or engrave, then you can summon it back and use it as link material. You can use something like Requiem to out a monster. So I just think overall the Fiendsmith stuff is just really, really strong. And I feel like you should still be playing this these cards in your deck. As you see here, I can just go through the deck right now and just like explain like the ratios. So before, people were playing like less copies of Angel Witch, maybe less copies of Memento Infusion. I think they're really strong. I really like the amount of starters you can play, especially because you're playing a lot of hand traps or like a lot of going second cards. So now you can like up your count of starters, but you could also up the deck count, so you have a little less likely to open up multiple names. And because you play something like 3 Memento Infusion, now it's not too bad to draw too many starters that are normal summons, because now they can turn into something like fusion material for the fusion. You can also use them for Bone Party, or like if you do destroy your monsters, you can go Sleepy, and then that can be used as material to go into something like Twin Dragon or Creation King. So I am playing 45 cards. I'm playing the one of requirements, which is the Combined Creation, the Horn Dragon, and then the 2 level 1s in Gaddock. And then I'm also playing for the starters. We're playing Darkblade. We're playing the Reinforcement of the Army. We're playing 3 Angel Witch. We're playing Bone Party, which is kind of a starter, but you need a name. Tatsunashigo, which is a starter. Sleepy is like an extender. It's like a weird extender. It's not really a starter. I mean, it can be a starter, yes, if you have another name, but it's one of the worst starters in your deck. I guess you can also count Goblin as a starter, but it's one of your worst starters. So that is all like your starter plays, besides like the Fiendsmith cards, which are also starters if you have an extra body. As you can see, it's a little bit different because you won't have access to something like Mace, because you would have to shuffle back another name, because you won't have the extra name. Because I started with Angel Witch and it got Veilered hypothetically. So like, say if you normal summon Ash Blossom, this Mace or this Horn Dragon wouldn't exist here. So you would have to choose, and I would obviously choose Horn Dragon because Horn Dragon provides extra disruption. So you wouldn't have the Mace here, which you can get access to it with something like Angel Witch. So yeah, so the Fiendsmith cards are technically starters, but you need another name on the field to go into the normal combo. And then for the other cards is the hand traps. I'm just playing what I believe are the better going second cards in this format right now. It can obviously change, but this is just the 15 lineup you can play, which is 3 Perelia, 3 Ash, 3 Droplets, 3 Imperm, and then the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Something to note with Droplets is that sometimes if you have like engravers in your hand and they clog up your hand, because that could be a problem with with no Lacrimosa, you can use something like Droplets, send the engravers, and that is a way to get it engraved so you can use the effect to summon itself onto the board. Because say if you get rid of Attract, right, and you use the effect of engraver and then you go on Attract and they stop the play, right? If you top deck into more engravers, it's really bad. So you need another copy of something like Track or something like Droplets to get it out the graveyard so you can go back into your Fiendsmith engine. So that's why I'm playing 2 Track, and that's why I'm also playing Droplets, because not only is Droplets a good going second card, but it's also a way to get engravers in the grave so you can use the effect to summon itself and then get back into your engraver engine or your Fiendsmith engine. So that is pretty much it. I'm not gonna pay too much attention to the side, because the side is going to change. Like that, the non-engine is not really important, besides maybe like Droplets is something to consider. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was informative enough and it changed your opinion on mementos with the Fiendsmith engine, because a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm not gonna play the Fiendsmith engine anymore, it's kind of expensive, I don't have it, or like it's just not a one card combo anymore, which is true, but it's still a combo with a normal summon. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I am out. Peace.